I know that feeling. When you start something and for a few days or maybe even a few weeks, you're completely obsessed with it. You keep thinking about it when you wake up. You watch videos about it. You research everything you can find. You make plans, and somehow, you start thinking about it almost all the time. You imagine yourself getting really good at it. You start thinking about where this could take you, what your life might look like if you actually stick with it. And for a moment, it feels like, maybe this is finally my thing. And honestly, that feeling is amazing. You feel excited. You feel like you're finally going somewhere. Like maybe, after trying so many different things, you finally found the one thing that's going to work for you. But then, something starts to change. You don't really notice it at first. You just feel a little less excited than you were before. The videos aren't as interesting anymore. The research doesn't feel as exciting. And the work, well, the work starts feeling like work. You're not discovering something new every day anymore. You're repeating the same things. You're making mistakes. You're practicing, and the progress feels slower. And then, somehow, a new idea appears. Maybe it's a completely different career. Maybe it's a business idea. Maybe it's a new skill. Maybe it's a hobby you've suddenly become interested in. And here's the weird part. You get excited again. Suddenly, you can't stop thinking about this new thing. You start watching videos again. You start researching again. You start making plans again. And that feeling comes back. That feeling of, wait, maybe this is actually what I should be doing. So you slowly put the old thing aside. You don't even really decide to quit. You just tell yourself, I'll come back to it later. And then later becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. And eventually, it's just something you used to be interested in. And if you've done this enough times, you know what happens next. You start looking at yourself differently. You start asking, why can't I stick to anything? Why do I keep changing my mind? Why does everyone else seem to be moving forward while I'm still trying to figure myself out? And honestly, I know that feeling because I've been there. For a long time, I felt completely lost. I would look at my friends and see them growing in their professions. Someone had been working on the same skill for years. Someone else had built a career. Someone had started a business and was actually getting somewhere. And I was still thinking about what I should do next. And the frustrating part was, I didn't feel stupid. I didn't feel incapable. I knew I could learn. I knew I could understand things. I knew I had ambition. I had ideas all the time. Sometimes I even felt like I could learn things faster than the people around me. But somehow, I couldn't stay with one thing long enough to actually build something. And after a while, you start blaming yourself. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I don't have enough discipline. Maybe I'm not talented enough. Maybe I'm just not serious. Or maybe I just haven't found my real passion yet. That last one was the easiest explanation for me. Because if I haven't found my thing yet, then I just need to keep searching. Maybe the next idea will be different. Maybe the next career will finally feel right. Maybe the next business will finally work. Maybe the next hobby will finally keep me interested. So I kept searching, and I kept starting, and I kept stopping, until eventually I got tired of guessing. I thought, there has to be a reason I keep doing this. So I started researching. I looked into psychology. I looked into motivation. I looked into boredom, novelty, dopamine, perfectionism, perseverance. I started looking at real people and asking, why can some people stay with one thing for years while others keep jumping from one thing to another? And during that research, I came across someone I wasn't expecting, a man named Leonardo da Vinci. Now, I'm not saying Leonardo had exactly the same problem I had. Obviously, we can't diagnose someone who lived hundreds of years ago. And his life was incredibly different from ours. But when I started looking at his life, I noticed something really interesting. Leonardo was one of the most curious people who ever lived. He wanted to understand everything: art, science, anatomy, engineering, architecture, nature, machines, the human body. Almost everything seemed to catch his attention. And that curiosity was one of his greatest strengths. But it also created something interesting. Because Leonardo had an incredible ability to start things. Finishing them was another story. In 1493, in Milan, Leonardo had created something extraordinary, a gigantic clay horse. It stood roughly 7 meters tall. The plan was to turn it into a massive bronze statue, something that would have been one of the largest equestrian monuments since antiquity. Leonardo had spent years thinking about it. He studied horses. He worked out how something that enormous could be cast. He made plans. He prepared the clay model, and tons of bronze had been set aside for the final casting. But the bronze was never poured. In 1494, the bronze was handed over to be turned into cannon. And when French troops later took Milan, the remaining clay model was reportedly used for target practice and eventually destroyed. From the outside, it looks like a simple tragedy. Leonardo created something incredible, and war destroyed it. End of story. But the horse isn't actually the part that interested me most. What interested me was what happened around it. Because this wasn't the only major project Leonardo left unfinished. He left important paintings incomplete. He moved between art, anatomy, engineering, architecture, mathematics, military designs, and countless other ideas. He could become deeply interested in something, and then his attention could move somewhere else. During roughly 17 years in Milan, from 1482 to 1499, he had major patrons, assistants, and important commissions. But his attention was constantly moving across different fields. He designed machines. He studied the human body. He worked on canals and architecture. He filled notebooks with ideas. Some became practical projects. Many remained studies, sketches, or unfinished plans. And that's where I started seeing something familiar. Not because I think I'm Leonardo da Vinci, obviously not, but because I recognize the pattern. The excitement of starting something, the endless research, the feeling that you've finally found your direction, and then the difficult middle. Maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. You start something new, and it doesn't arrive quietly. It arrives with an entire future attached to it. You don't just think, I'll learn this skill. You imagine yourself becoming really good at it. You imagine the money you'll make, the freedom you'll have, the person you'll become, the respect you'll get. You can almost see the future version of yourself. So you research, you watch videos, you read about it, you make a plan, you buy whatever you need. Maybe you even tell someone about it. And for a while, you feel different. You feel like you're finally moving somewhere. But then the beginning ends. And this is where things get interesting. Because you're no longer learning something completely new every day. The progress becomes slower. The work becomes repetitive. You're making the same mistakes. You're practicing the same thing again and again. And suddenly, the thing that felt so exciting doesn't feel exciting anymore. And that's usually when the next idea appears. And this new idea looks amazing. It feels cleaner. It feels more interesting. It feels like it fits you better. And you start thinking, maybe the last thing wasn't really for me. Maybe this is what I was actually supposed to do. So you move on. And then the same cycle starts again, and again, and again. Now here's where I started looking into the psychology. You've probably heard people say, dopamine is the pleasure chemical, or that new things give you a dopamine hit. But that's a very simplified explanation. The actual science is much more interesting. Research by Wolfram Schultz and his colleagues showed that dopamine neurons can respond to the difference between what we expect to happen and what actually happens. As we learn, the brain can begin responding more strongly to cues that predict a reward. And research by Kent Berridge and Terry Robinson also help distinguish between wanting something and actually liking or enjoying it. So dopamine isn't simply a chemical that says, this feels good. It's involved in motivation, learning, reward prediction, and the pursuit of things we find rewarding. But here's where we need to be careful. This research does not prove that every person who abandons a hobby after a few weeks is simply experiencing a dopamine problem. Human behavior is much more complicated than that. Perfectionism can play a role. Fear of failure can play a role. Your personality can matter. Your circumstances can matter. Sometimes you genuinely chose the wrong thing. Sometimes your priorities change. And sometimes you simply get bored. But there is one idea from all of this that really helped me. The excitement you feel at the beginning of something doesn't necessarily mean you've found the right thing. And when that excitement disappears, it doesn't necessarily mean you've chosen the wrong thing. Sometimes, the novelty simply disappeared. And that's a huge difference. Because when you're beginning something, almost everything is new. You're discovering, you're learning, you're improving quickly, you're constantly getting new information. But eventually, you reach the part nobody puts in the motivational video, the boring middle. The part where you already know the basics, but you're nowhere near mastery. And that's where a lot of us leave. And honestly, this was probably one of the hardest things for me to accept. I realized that I had become very good at starting. I knew how to research something. I knew how to make a plan. I knew how to get excited. I knew how to learn the basics. But I wasn't giving things enough time to become deep skills. And there is a cost to that. You don't necessarily end up knowing nothing. Actually, you might know a little about many things. You can become an expert beginner. You're really good at entering new worlds. You know how to get started. You know how to learn the basics. But you don't stay long enough to reach the stage where years of experience start compounding. And then something even more painful can happen. You start collecting evidence about yourself. You quit one thing, then another, and eventually your brain starts building a story. I don't finish things. And once that story becomes part of your identity, starting something new becomes harder. Because now you're not just starting another project, you're starting another test. You start thinking, what if I quit this one too? What if I waste another 6 months? What if I'm just like this? And suddenly, the problem isn't only the project. It's the story you've started believing about yourself. So here's the part I really want you to hear, because I wish someone had explained this to me earlier. The solution isn't never quit. That's terrible advice. Sometimes you absolutely should quit. If something is destroying your health, your finances, your relationships, or simply doesn't fit the life you actually want, walking away can be the smartest thing you do. The real question is, when should you quit? Because I realized that I was often making the decision when I was bored. The old thing felt difficult, the progress felt slow, and then a new thing appeared. And suddenly, everything about that new thing looked exciting. So I was comparing the boring reality of one option with the imaginary future of another. Of course, the new thing looked better. So I changed the question. Instead of asking, do I feel excited about this anymore? I started asking, is this actually wrong for me? Or am I just uncomfortable because I'm no longer a beginner? And honestly, that question changed a lot for me. So I started using a simple system. It's not some scientifically proven formula. It's just a way to stop myself from making important decisions in the middle of an emotional moment. I call it the delayed decision rule. The idea is simple. When something stops feeling exciting, don't immediately make a life-changing decision. Give yourself some distance. And here's how I do it. Rule number 1. Decide your exit conditions before you begin. Before starting something, ask yourself, what would actually make me quit this? Maybe the numbers don't work. Maybe you're not learning anything after giving it a fair amount of time. Maybe you've discovered something important that you didn't know before. Maybe it genuinely doesn't fit your life anymore. Write those things down, because when you're excited at the beginning, you can think more clearly about why you're doing it. Later, when you're bored, your brain may give you a completely different explanation. So don't let a temporary feeling make a permanent decision. Rule number 2. Track your actions, not your excitement. This one helped me a lot. I stopped asking myself every day, am I still passionate about this? Instead, I started asking, did I actually do the work? How many hours? How many sessions? How many pages? How many attempts? How much have I improved? Because motivation changes. Some days you're excited, some days you're not. That's normal. but your actions give you something concrete to look at. You might feel like you're getting nowhere, and then look back 3 months later and realize, wait, I'm actually much better than I was. Rule number 3, don't let a new idea immediately become your new life. This one is probably the hardest. Because new ideas are seductive. They feel fresh, they feel exciting. And your brain immediately starts imagining everything that could happen. So when a new idea comes, write it down. Keep a list. Research it later. But don't immediately abandon what you're doing just because something new made you excited. Give the idea some time. If you still want it after 30 days, okay, maybe it's worth looking into. But you'll be surprised how many life-changing ideas don't feel quite so life-changing after the excitement wears off. And when it's finally time to review what you're doing, ask yourself 4 questions. First, is the boredom in the activity, or is it just the stage I'm in? Because being bored with the beginner stage doesn't necessarily mean you hate the thing. Second, am I still improving, even slowly? Don't answer based on how you feel. Look at the evidence. Third, would I still want to do this if nobody knew I was doing it? Because sometimes we're not actually in love with the thing. We're in love with what we think the thing will make other people think about us. And fourth, this one is probably my favorite. Is the new option actually better? Or is it simply newer? Seriously, ask yourself that question before you throw away something you've already spent months building. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've completely solved this. I haven't. I still get distracted. I still get excited about new ideas. Sometimes I still want to throw everything away and start something completely different. But there's one difference now. I don't automatically trust that feeling. I let it sit. I give it some time. Because I've learned something. You don't need to eliminate your curiosity. Curiosity isn't the enemy. Actually, curiosity can be one of your greatest strengths. The problem is when every new curiosity gets permission to become your new direction. You can be interested in 10 things. You don't have to build your life around all 10. You can learn about something without turning it into your career. You can explore without abandoning what you're already building. And maybe that's the balance I was missing. And that's also what made Leonardo's story more interesting to me. I'm not telling you, be like Leonardo. His life was complicated. He left things unfinished for many different reasons. Perfectionism may have played a role. His curiosity certainly played a role. His commissions, circumstances, wars, technical difficulties, and the way he approached his work all mattered too. We can't reduce a person who lived 500 years ago to one psychological explanation. But there is one detail about Leonardo that I keep thinking about. He began a portrait of a Florentine merchant's wife around 1503. He never delivered it. The painting stayed with him for years. It traveled with him, and it was still in his possession when he died in 1519. Not finished, but not abandoned either. Today, we know that painting as the Mona Lisa. And maybe there's something strangely comforting about that. Because the goal isn't to become someone who never quits. The goal is to become someone who can tell the difference between "this isn't right for me" and "this just isn't exciting anymore." Those two feelings can look almost identical, but they can take your life in completely different directions. So if you're sitting there right now, looking at your friends and seeing them move ahead, while you're still trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, I want you to hear this from someone who's been there. You may not be behind because you're incapable. You may not be behind because you're lazy. And you may not even be missing some magical passion that everyone else has somehow found. Maybe you've just spent too much time restarting. And if that's you, don't try to fix your entire life tonight. Don't suddenly make another huge plan. Don't start another 5 things tomorrow morning. Just pick one. One thing. Something that still matters to you. Give it a fair chance. Stop asking yourself every few days whether you're still excited. Do the work. Let yourself get bored. Let yourself be bad at it. Let yourself experience the part where nobody is impressed, where nothing feels magical, and where you're not seeing results yet. Because that might actually be the part where you're finally becoming good. And if you eventually discover that it's genuinely not for you, then leave. That's okay. But leave because you've thought about it clearly. Not because something newer came along and suddenly made the old thing look boring. Because maybe you don't need to find the perfect thing. Maybe you just need to stay with one good thing long enough to discover what it becomes. And if you've been through this too, ask yourself honestly, what's the one thing I abandoned? Not because it was wrong for me, but simply because it stopped being exciting. Don't answer immediately. Just sit with that question for a moment before you open the next video.